America is about to collapse. Peter Schiff. Elon Musk and Suze Orman are two well-known figures who have previously predicted that there will be a recession in the American economy. The CEO and chief global strategist of Euro-Pacific capital, Peter Schiff, is the most recent expert to sound the alarm. Anyone thinking this recession will be mild doesn't understand recessions, he wrote in a tweet. A financial catastrophe that will be far worse than the one that occurred in 2008 is imminent. These comments were made by the banking mogul during a face-off with award-winning economist and Can We Avoid Another Crisis author Steve Keen. Is the situation really worse now than it was in 2008? Since the monetary policy measures that protected us from the worst pandemic-related economic implications have set the ground for fortune, significantly greater inflation, and an unprepared global economy, the potential calamity, according to Schiff, might have a huge impact. Concerns about a worldwide recession caused by inflation are growing as the turmoil in Ukraine drives up commodity prices even more, which were already sky-high due to supply chain restrictions imposed by the COVID epidemic. So, are we really going to hit the bottom? The US S&P 500 index is down 7% from its record high in January last year, while the Nasdaq Composite is down about 13% from its all-time high in November, reflecting concerns that such a recession may trigger a financial crisis. The typical safe havens from the storm, the US dollar and gold, have given investors peace of mind. But how secure is the US currency if a financial crisis and recessions are on the horizon? The foundations for sustained spending throughout the pandemic-driven financial crisis has been created through policies such as continuing payments to lay off employees, historically low interest rates, extensive asset purchase programs, business help, and other measures. According to Schiff, the world has experienced higher rates of inflation as a result of the increasing latent demand during a period of limited supply, setting the basis for a future catastrophe. There is no more basis the Federal Reserve can hide behind to justify this monetary policy. So, if they have to withdraw it, everything that was built on top of it will collapse, he says. As Western sanctions restrict the flow of Russian oil, minerals, and agricultural exports, Moscow's conflict with Ukraine has made the supply shock even worse. In addition, due to its zero-tolerance approach to the spread of COVID, China has kept up its restrictions. The US has weaponized the dollar against Russia through the sanctions it imposed in retaliations for its actions against the Ukraine, as well as by the possibility that China and other countries may be investigated, which would probably cause a major sell-down of dollar holdings. That is a weapon that China does not want utilized against it. China has much more money than Russia. They appear to desire to get rid of their financial holdings. I believe that countries like Russia, China, and possibly India wish to advance their efforts to become less reliant on the US dollar. So the question is, at what point should investors expect a market crash? At the very least, a big correction, or perhaps even a protracted bear market. How can they alert themselves to its impending arrival, and what warning signals should they look out for? Russ Moult, Director of Investment Research at A.J. Bell, thinks that many of the conditions are already in place. Some of the points Moult emphasizes include the frightening buildup in derivatives amounts, including the $3.5 trillion in stock and index-based options that expired, frothy IPO and mergers and acquisitions markets, overconfidence in central bank backstops, and the prolonged bull run leading to overvaluations. While there is clearly some froth in stock market prices, especially in the high-growth tech sectors in the US, would even a major sell-off generate a crash that poses systemic damage to markets, including the death of the dollar, the most prominent market totem in the world? The following contrast between a market crash and a correction is made by Klisman Muradi, the founder and CEO of the London-based research company Pareto Economics. They are used interchangeably but actually mean two separate things. Talking about a crash is violent and alarmist. Corrections is more subdued, he claims. Mike Coop, Chief Investment Officer at Morningstar Investment Management, continues this notion by arguing that market crashes are common occurrences that bring inflated valuations back to more acceptable levels. The question at hand is whether a financial crash will occur. Although the majority of analysts don't think a crash is about to happen, there is obviously no definitive answer to this question. It is accurate to say that the US Nasdaq Composite is seeing a decline in the stock market, but it's normal to expect market falls following a long bull run. Just as forest fires clear out old and decaying timber to make place for new growth, Corrections bring asset prices back to levels where investment may begin in earnest. The following statements have demonstrated that many countries throughout the world are experiencing a period of slower growth and higher inflation, and central banks must take cautions to address these issues. Boom and bust cycles will always include times of slower economic activity, even though we may keep an eye out for warning signs of a market calamity. So what are your opinions about the current circumstances? Will the market rebound, or will Peter Schiff's prediction American collapse will come to pass? If you like the video, hit the like button, and if you want to prevent yourself from such a crash, subscribe to us, because we continue to bring such informations beforehand so you can plan ahead.